Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is capandball here, your favorite gun channel in beautiful bright English language, and today I have a very interesting topic for you. Do you remember that scene from the movie Crocodile Dundee when he's attacked by a thug holding a knife, asking for his wallet, and the lady beside Crocodile Dundee says, "Give him the wallet, he has a knife." Then Crocodile Dundee looks at the knife, it's a small pocket knife, pulls out a large bovie and says, "That's not a knife, this is a knife." Well, this is the same feeling I have when I hold a percussion revolver in my hands like this Uberti 1861 Colt Navy reproduction. And the Walker. This is a revolver. And this is in fact the strongest percussion revolver ever designed. It was designed for the dragoon use, so for mounted infantry, and it had to fulfill the role of a carbine and a pistol also. This is the Uberti reproduction. It is a very finely made reproduction, and today I have a very special plan for you because I would like to put this gun into the Ransom rest with the full charge, just to see how accurate it is. And I would like to understand how strong this revolver is with the full charge. But let's start with shooting this behemoth from offhand to 15 meters, just to feel the recoil of the full charge. But before we go on, please subscribe to the channel, please like, share, comment the video to help us grow. Also, please visit us at patreon.com/capandball. Here you will receive ad-free exclusive content from me. And we are also present on the History of the Weapons and War platform, which is an excellent hiding place for gun nuts like us with thousands of videos from educational channels. Please support us if you can. So this was pure fun. The pistol is heavy, which means that even the full charge is manageable from single-hand shooting as well. But you need a strong arm to hold it, so be prepared that you will have to exercise before you start shooting your Walker revolver, because holding 2 kilos straight, that's a challenge. You can ask me why I was using a roundball in this revolver. Well, originally the Walker revolver was designed for conicals, for a 220 grain conical bullet, and on the market you can access the beautiful bullets from Erasgon. He has a dragoon bullet, and he also has the Johnson & Doe 44 caliber bullets, which are just excellent for all percussion revolvers, repros and originals as well. But to be able to load them into your Uberti Walker, you have to open the loading port a bit, because otherwise the conical bullets won't fit. Which I cannot do because this is not my revolver. I'm not owning it, which means that I cannot just file it down, but I would love to. Let's talk about the history of the Walker revolver. We are in the beginning of the 1840s, and the Colt Patent Arms Manufacturing Company of Paterson is at the edge of bankruptcy. And Colt is trying to do everything to stay on surface. The Paterson revolvers, well, they are selling, but great large-scale orders from the Army or the Navy are not coming. Even the carbine version of the Paterson did not make the Army trials, which means that Colt has to invent something. And this is the point in 1846 when he meets Samuel H. Walker, a young Texas Ranger, who is a great promoter for the Paterson Colts. Walker was just appointed to be the captain of Company C of the U.S. Regiment of Mounted Riflemen. And based on his experiences, good experiences gained with the Paterson revolvers, he is a great advocate of arming all the mounted riflemen with revolvers. And the Colt revolving pistol seems to be a perfect choice for that. Captain Walker was quite famous for a little engagement. He fought against 80 Comanche warriors with his 15 Texas Rangers on the 8th June 1844. Now, this little engagement was a success for him, of course, because he survived it. And the success was based on the excellent firepower of the Paterson Colts. He convinced the US decision makers, the Ordnance Department, first of all the President, then the Secretary of War and the Ordnance Department, to order 1,000 pieces of revolving pistols for the mounted light troops of the US Army. The roll engraving of the Walker revolvers pays tribute to the fight between Comanche Indians and Texas Ranger Captain Jack Hayes and his Rangers. According to the legend, the picture is supposed to represent the fight between Hayes' Rangers and the Comanches at Enchanted Rock, near Fredericksburg, Texas. But before we go on with the history of the Walker, let me show you what this revolver is capable of with target charges, so with reduced target charges. In 2016, we organized the MLAIC World Championships in Hungary, and we organized a side match called Patterson for open-top percussion revolvers. Now, since that time, this discipline became the official discipline of the MLAIC. And Gyula was actually shooting his Uberti Walker, and this is his charge that we are going to try now. So Gyula is big, he's strong, you need force to hold that pistol for 13 shots in a row, but he could do it. He scored 94, which is quite good for an open-top revolver. And everybody else was using lighter revolvers, like 51 Davies, 60 Armies, and stuff like that. But he was shooting the Walker because he's brave enough. Gyula's charge is not a light charge. It is 30 grains of 3F Swiss powder, 24 grains of semolina, the 454 pure lead roundball, Chariot's excellent revolver loop, and RWS 1075 percussion caps. The powder is measured only by volume from a volumetric measure. That is probably not the most accurate method. Controlling the charge with a scale is a good help if one wants to reach maximum accuracy. When loading this charge, I failed to press the first bullet deep enough into the chamber, so when rotating the cylinder, I felt that the barrel breech sheared a thin section of the top of the ball. So when I finished charging all the chambers, I returned to the first one, and I pressed the bullet into the correct depth as a final touch. This was the first chamber, where I failed to push the bullet deep enough into the chamber in the first try.
Acquisition error. $298.
307. Three zero eight. And here is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, why Gyula Mészáros, my friend, was able to win the World Championships with a Walker revolver, with an Uberti Walker revolver in the open-top Patterson category. Well, because the revolver is accurate. After the 6 shots, there are 5 shots in the size of a 10 ring, which means that it is very, very good for a heavy revolver like this. And we've got one flyer here, but that was the misload that I just mentioned to you. This was not pushed down enough in the chamber, and you can immediately see what differences are if you don't do everything exactly the same way. But still, it is a very, very good group. I love it. I love it. So thanks to Samuel Walker, the Ordnance Department ordered 1,000 holster revolvers. But what is a holster revolver? Well, in contemporary terminology, the holster revolver was a heavy gun that you had to carry on the 2 sides of the saddle, so not on your belt. The lighter revolvers, well, they were the belt revolvers. Now, if you are a great fan of Clint Eastwood like capandball, then you know that, of course, it can be carried on your belt. But if you carry only one, then you are going to have a scoliosis, so you have to carry 2. But if you carry 2, then you need a very strong leather belt, otherwise it will pull your pants off. The Uberti reproduction has a bore with a 1 turn in 19 inches twist rate, 7 left-handed grooves we have in the bore, and the groove diameter and the cylinder diameter, the chamber diameters are matching well, which means that everything is set to have an accurate revolver. By the time the order arrived to Colt, his only problem was that he lacked the proper manufacturing facility to produce 1,000 revolvers. So he approached Eli Whitney Jr. to produce these 1,000 guns for him. Now, Eli Whitney Jr. was managing one of the most advanced firearms making factories of the United States. And in fact, this is proved by the fact that only after 3 months placing that order, or receiving that order, the first 100 pistols were ready. By the way, these revolvers are not called a Walker revolver until the death of Samuel H. Walker in 1847. Before that, it was just called Colt's holster revolvers. And the pistol was big, with a 9-inch bore. Now, it was anything but perfect. It had several flaws. The first one was a loading lever that could open or release on the force of the recoil, and it can also jam the action because it will go into the chamber just under the loading lever, and it will prevent the repeating mechanism working. Also, many of the cylinders blew up, which means that the survival rate of the Walker revolvers is probably very, very low. It is the lowest from all the Colt revolvers, surely because of the limited number that they produced also. So all these problems were later healed on the Dragoon models, which was a much more capable arm. But this 1,000 pieces of order, that started the Colt factory. Colt received $25,000 as a total payment for fulfilling this order. By the way, he made some for the civilian market as well. He made 2 pieces for Walker as a gift as well, as a presentation revolver pair. But this $25,000 was used for establishing his own factory in Hartford, Connecticut, and that started the Colt legend. Now, enough of talking, let's see what this lady can do with the full service charge at 25 meter shot from the Ransom rest. When you are loading your Uberti Walker with 55 grains of 3F Swiss powder, just a very little space remains in the chamber above the bullet. 388. Three nine zero. Three nine two. Even if it is the highest charge that you can load in a Walker, which is around 55 grains of 3F Swiss powder, the group is not that bad. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 shots are, let's say, in the size of a 9 ring, a bit less than a 9 ring, and all the other 2 shots are in the size of the 8 ring, which means that well within the size of human head at 25 meters, which is just excellent for a service charge. And remember, with this revolver, it was a dragoon revolver, which means that you were not aiming for the head of the enemy soldier, but on the whole silhouette of a horseman, which is quite okay. Now, that group was not bad at all. Of course, this is not target shooting accuracy, but still, from a tactical point of view, it is enough for hitting a man-sized target at this distance. Well, why the group opened up so much? And the reason is quite simple. It is because we have so much velocity inside the bore that the bullet is actually jumping the rifling. Probably with the full charge on a conical bull, this would be much less problem, much more little problem, because the conical ball has a larger bearing surface that can contact the rifling of the bore, which means that it will not jump the rifling that easily. So in the case of the roundball, probably the rifling was just not able to spin the bullet properly, and that caused the opening of the group. But it was still a size of 8 ring, which means it's okay. Let's check now the outer ballistics of this full roundball load. If you have a ballistic radar, well, that's a great help in every historical shooting, because then you can make an accurate simulation for the trajectory, for the energy, for the velocity. Because you can measure the velocity of the bullet on 2 distances, and from these 2 distances, from these 2 velocities, you can calculate the exact ballistic coefficient of the bullet, which means that you will have a quite accurate trajectory simulation. The 4.54 lead roundball left the bore with 392 meters per second muzzle velocity as an average, that is around 1,200 feet per sec. This delivered a muzzle energy of 702 joules. Although 200 meters is quite over-optimistic for maximum range for revolver combat, but the bullet at this distance still has around 180 joules of kinetic energy that is more than enough for a lethal wound. So what this 702 joules of muzzle energy is enough for? We usually say that the Walker revolver was the strongest revolver up until the introduction of the 44 Magnum cartridge. This is partially true, or rather this is false, because the 357 Magnum preceded the 44 Magnum, and its energy is starting above 700 joules of muzzle energy, which means that it is already stronger than the 44 caliber Walker revolver. But from the percussion revolvers, well, I'm pretty sure that this was the strongest one. Let's check the ballistic curve of the 4.54 roundball fired with 392 meters per second. Well, this is around 1,200 feet per sec, so it is fast. It's like a carbine. Let's check how it covers the field. The sights of the Walker revolver are set to shoot high, which makes sense in case of a military arm. They were designed to aim the center of the body, the belly of the enemy soldier. In this graph, you can see the optimal sighting distance if I set the vital zone to plus minus 50 cm, matching approximately the height of a human torso. At 25 meters, the revolver will shoot approximately 20 cm high, just like in case of my Uberti Walker. The peak of the trajectory will be at around 80 meters, with 35 cm height. The bullet path will cross the line of sight again at 150 meters and reach the minus 50 centimeter depth at 185 meters. So ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you enjoyed this little history hour again. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to help us grow. Also, please support us on patreon.com/capandball and be the member of the History of Weapons and War platform. Ladies and gentlemen, up until next time, stay cool and keep your powder dry.